Ayo, it's Retro. Welcome to another video. Chip Zdarsky just ended his Batman run, and I have to say I'm actually kind of surprised by the reception to this run. I feel like his Daredevil obviously got a lot more eyes on it. While I haven't reread Zdarsky's Daredevil since I first read it, which was years ago, I don't feel like his Batman is any worse. So let's get into it. Like, subscribe. We are talking about the entire saga of Chip Zdarsky, Jorge Jimenez, and Carmine DiGiannomico's Batman. First, starting off with Batman the Knight. Batman the Knight is a sort of, it's not his year zero, but it's like a prologue to the origin, right? So, and I thought this was a really good book. Batman the Knight is really fucking good. So this kind of picks up on pieces from James Tynion IV and Jorge Jimenez's Batman run, where we find out about this like secret rival that Batman used to have back before he was Batman. This was during the time where he was traveling around the world trying to become Batman, basically, you know, learning from different teachers and all this kind of stuff. And this is when he met Ghostmaker. At the time, Ghostmaker was named Anton, and this is how Bruce Wayne was introduced to him. They met in the League of Shadows, and they were basically like the best fighters there. However, Bruce Wayne was the better fighter and recognized as the better fighter. You also see tidbits of where Ra's al Ghul is starting to favor Bruce Wayne as a person and also wanting him as a successor. At the end of the day, the Knight is really just documenting his journey to becoming the world's greatest detective. You see where he learns about being more silent, being more of an assassin, being able to conceal himself in the shadows. You see him learning to fight a lot better, and you also see one thing that is basically the premise of Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. You see at the end Bruce Wayne learning to create a separate consciousness so that he can basically lock in. Now, Bruce Wayne, being the person that he is, he figured it out, but he didn't like it, and he didn't like the teacher's philosophies. He felt like the teacher was a sociopath. And you really do see the difference between Anton and Bruce Wayne during this run, where you see that Anton is kind of just driven by the art of crime fighting, and Bruce Wayne is really driven by love and by loss. You know, he's doing this because he saw what happened to his parents, and he doesn't want that to happen to anybody else. Not out of anger, but really out of grief. And does that make him a child at heart still? A little bit. Does that mean that he has a lot of trauma that he hasn't dealt with? He does. But I think that's what makes Batman also relatable at the end of the day. You strip that from him. He's just a billionaire playboy who's playing superhero. So I think it's very important. The Knight is very good. I didn't want to spend too much time on this because it's an earlier story. Like, everyone kind of gets it. I also was reading this. I was just like, you know, it's good. But it's really good. It's a really good earlier. There's not that many out there that I feel like touch on really interesting aspects of Batman. You have Frank Miller's Year One. You have Matt Wagner's, you know, Batman and the Monster Man. You have those stuff that kind of just like bring you up to like year 2 or so. Really good stuff. I don't think this is necessary reading. If you want to read, you know, Chip Zdarsky's run, I do think it is sort of, but I think if you just want more Batman, this is like a really good story to read. But like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on this. It's 10 issues. It's a mini series. It's a maxi series rather. It's really fucking good. The art is amazing. Carmine DiGiannomico is an exceptional artist. I think one of the most underrated artists in comics right now. I really love his art. It's very fluid, and whoever is coloring him seems to always kind of know like what's best. And this was really fucking good. I really like this. But yeah, that's enough of the Night. I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Now I wanted to talk about the main run on Batman with Jorge Jimenez and also Mike Hawthorne and some other artists. You also have Tony S. Daniel, a bunch of other artists on here. Tomeu Morey is coloring most of this run. And this is, you know, still Jorge Jimenez's Batman, but in a very good way. Chip Zdarsky understands Batman. Like, we don't got to spend too much time on characterization. What happens in this run? This is the return of Grant Morrison's Zur-En-Arrh reinvention. Who is Zur-En-Arrh? If you don't know, I am not the best person to explain Zur-En-Arrh, just because it's not a complicated concept, but it's one of those concepts I was kind of just like, not that I didn't care too much for, but it's not a Batman concept that I am looking for, that I'm searching for. Like, originally he was an alternate universe version of Batman who was kind of a little bit more driven and not necessarily like Batman Zur-En-Arrh is where the true argument of is Batman the Mask or is Bruce Wayne the Mask came from. It kind of started more so from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, but I feel like Grant Morrison reignited that argument. He reignited by interrogating the very idea, by looking at Batman Zur-En-Arrh and seeing like, okay, if Batman really was the person, or if there was a mask, he would look like Zur-En-Arrh. He would be like, he wouldn't have a family, basically. He would just be Batman solely, or he would just be Bruce Wayne solely. I have always been of the camp that there is no mask. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is Batman. I've talked about this in other videos. If you want to go watch them, watch them. I don't even know which video it was, but I've talked about it before. There is no mask to me. They are all the same. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is Batman. It's just the mission. They both just follow the mission. He follows the mission. He wants this. He wants Gotham to be better. And it reignites this argument in, I want to say, a less interesting way, but I do kind of like what he does. So the first arc is Failsafe. Failsafe is a failsafe. It's a robot that basically, whenever Batman crosses the line, he had this contingency in place, Failsafe, which was a robot that would stop Batman at by any means necessary and take over his mission. Now, of course, this robot was created by Zur-En-Arrh, and this means that this robot was going to basically be a dictator to Gotham. And that's what happens. Failsafe fights Batman across the fucking world. He goes from Justice League member to member and trying to ask them for help. Superman even tried fighting Cellface and couldn't beat him. And finally, he tried to stop Failsafe, and instead Failsafe sent him back to a different universe. This was a high octane story. Every single issue felt like we just kept going and going and going. And I think that's one of the benefits to this run. Jorge Jimenez's art is exceptional. I love Jorge Jimenez. He has this very electric style to him. While I do think now he's become a little bit, I don't want to say I'm fatigued by seeing him, but when I see a Batman comic, I kind of expect Jorge Jimenez to be a part of it. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Jorge Jimenez, get your money. You're an artist. A lot of these artists don't get as much leeway as you do. So I think that's a good thing from an artist standpoint. From a craft standpoint, it's not the best. I don't think Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez work the best together. Funnily enough, I think James Tynion the Fort's writing worked better with Jorge Jimenez, but I do think this run is still really good. This takes us to Batman of Gotham. This was a multiversal Batman story that took him to a different alternate Earth where Batman basically didn't exist, and Gotham was run over by a clan of Red Hoods. This was fun. I love how fun it was. I do think the art was a bit stepped down. Jorge Jimenez wasn't drawing it. It was Mike Hawthorne for the most part. But then when it culminates into the very final issue, you do have Jorge Jimenez drawing a lot of it, and you see all these different Batman. You see Bruce Wayne going from alternate universe to get help and help stop this Red Hood in this universe. And you really do see Bruce Wayne's desperation to help Gotham throughout this entire story. It's a very good story. I think it's better than Failsafe. I just wish the art was better. It was a very fun multiversal story, but it just you could feel that disconnect. I know that Chip Zdarsky and Mike Hawthorne have worked together. They worked together on Daredevil, but I also felt the same way there. Their art was a bit of a step down, and no hate to Mike Hawthorne. I think he doesn't work when he's a backup artist, if that makes sense. He should be the main artist, and enough on that. I don't want to harp too much on him as an artist, because he's actually a really good artist, but it's just different. It's a different artist to go to. But I love this story. I think this is actually one of my favorite stories from this run. Outside of Mindbomb, really, this was the best. And then you get to Gotham War, which is where this whole run kind of falls apart at this point. Gotham War is basically a crossover between Catwoman and Batman, where Catwoman kind of steps up and is she is making Gotham better in the absence of Batman. And she wants to continue what she is doing. Now, what she is doing, she is kind of acting as a criminal. She has all these people in place who are stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. And yes, being a Robin Hood is great, of course. However, there is a lot of crime still happening. It's just off the books. No one is really like reporting it because they're safe. This was a very good idea. The conflict between Selina and Bruce Wayne is amazing. I love when their romance is like this. They kind of are talking like divorced parents, not in the way where it's very malicious. They're just like, they are at an impasse, they're at disagreements, and they don't know how to deal with it. And it's phenomenal. Like, it's also very mature for a Batman comic. I feel like the last time Batman and Selina were really written like this was when Tom King was writing them. You know, say what you will about Tom King, I don't care. I really like a lot of his Batman run. His Bruce Wayne and Selina in his Batman run, not in Batman/Catwoman, in his Batman run, is really fucking good. Their romance is amazing. But I think like Tini's greatest strength would have been making this more of a divorce sort of story, making the centerpiece really being Bruce Wayne and Selina disagreeing, and not necessarily the centerpiece being what they're disagreeing about. It's more so about them disagreeing and why they're disagreeing, but not necessarily the actual topic, if that makes sense. What I'm essentially saying is the fact that like Selina is making Gotham better, and the fact that Bruce Wayne thinks that what she's doing is good in theory, but also just like still bad. It's a nonsense argument. The real meat and potatoes of this like crossover is the fact that Bruce and Selina cannot agree on something, and the way they speak, the way they talk to each other, their conversations is great. It's sublime. I really, really enjoyed it. But that's where like it ends. That's where it starts and that's where it ends. After that, it just kind of falls apart. Vandal Savage is a part of this for some reason, and it's kind of, I was gonna say earlier, it makes this crossover very clunky. It makes this crossover very nonsensical. Like, I wish it should have just been a lot smaller. I think like I could kind of tell Chip Zdarsky did not want to do this. But he kind of makes the best of it. His issues are the better parts of it. Tini Howard's issues, where she's more so just dealing with Bruce Wayne and Selina arguing, they're amazing, but the rest of this is bad. Like, I don't like Nightwing, Barbara, Red Hood, all of that stuff where it's dealing with Red Hood being poisoned by Bruce Wayne. All that stuff kind of doesn't make any sense. Wow. Now, I will say, at this point, Bruce Wayne has been compromised. He does have like the ghost of Zur-En-Arrh in his ear, and he is acting differently. That is kind of the point. I really love that inner conflict that Batman is dealing with. That's really the better parts of Chip Zdarsky's issues. It's more so dealing with the fact that Bruce Wayne is at odds with himself, inside of himself. He is trying to come back from the Zur-En-Arrh personality taking over in Failsafe, but he hasn't completely cleansed himself. And you see in Batman of Gotham where you kind of think that he has, but instead, this is very high concept, and I kind of didn't like explain it very well, but basically like back in early years, back in Batman the Knight, when he met with that sociopathic teacher, he taught Bruce Wayne to go within himself and kind of create another personality. That's how he made Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Batman of Zur-En-Arrh is basically like just Batman completely. There's no Bruce Wayne personality, nothing. It's more so just like what Bruce Wayne would tap into if he needed a little nudge to continue going forward. But he realizes that that's not what he's all about. That's not what Batman really is about. Batman is about being both. He is a human and he is a superhero, and it's about being both of those. So he kind of just locked Batman Zur-En-Arrh forever in the back of his mind and never really went back to that dark place, basically. In Batman of Gotham, you kind of get like every single time he went to a different multiverse, he had their Zur-En-Arrh personality implanted into his personality like space. It's very like nonsensical, but I love it because it's like, it's comics. Like, this is the only place you could really do that. So in the Chip Zdarsky issues of Gotham War, coming back to Gotham War, in the Chip Zdarsky issues of Gotham War, you get parts where you see these kind of glimpses and hints of Zur-En-Arrh like coming out and really taking more control, and it feels sort of like a Venom and Eddie Brock situation, and that's interesting. I really like that conflict. You have like the inner conflict, and it's really good. You see like Bruce Wayne doing things that he normally wouldn't do. I think that really enhances this run because that's the whole point. He's calling his Robins and sidekicks soldiers because he is compromised. So that is like the impetus. The Catwoman issues are really just dealing with their conflict, and then you have the Batman issues, which is dealing with his inner conflict and how that, you know, coincides with his conflict with Catwoman. It's really good. That stuff is really good. The Vandal Sages part of it sucks. I'm not really going into like the nitty gritty of what goes on issue to issue and everything like that. I'm just telling you what basically like the gist of it. If you want to read it, like I think it's a worthwhile read. I think Chip Zdarsky's Batman is a very good Batman run. Out of all the Batman runs that have happened since Scott Snyder's, I think it's the most consistent. I don't think it's consistently amazing, but I think it's consistently decent. That was really my issue with a lot of the other runs. Tom King's Batman run is very inconsistent. It's inconsistent as hell, as a matter of fact. It's at 1 minute it's amazing, and then another minute it's fucking horrible. Like, I love parts of it, but then you also have James Tynion IV, which it kind of toes the line between being good and then it just goes up and down constantly. When it's really good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's not that bad, but it's also just like not great. And then you have Joshua Williamson's Batman run, which is just forgettable. It's not really worth reading whatsoever. I feel like I'm missing one in between Joshua Williamson and Chip Zdarsky, unless, give me one moment. No, wow. Okay, so yeah, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, Chip Zdarsky started his Batman run right after Joshua Williamson. So yeah, Joshua Williamson run is forgettable, and then you have Chip Zdarsky's, and I think it is, overall I think it's really good. So now that we're done with Gotham War, the next issue is Mindbomb, and this is really where the conflict of Batman and Zur-En-Arrh really shifts into gear. Here you have Bruce expunging Zur completely, and he puts it in Failsafe. It's a very like high octane, like it's similar to the Failsafe arc where like it feels like Batman is just constantly on the run, and I think that's a really good reading experience. Jorge Jimenez's art during this is just, it's Jorge Jimenez, man. Like, this is where he shines sometimes the most, and it's phenomenal. I love this part of the run. Mindbomb is the best like story of this run, but it's only 3 issues, a very short part of this run, but it's so fucking good. This just comes to head where Batman completely cleanses himself of Zur, and then it stops, and we go into Joker Year One, which sucked. I know I said before that this was the most consistent Batman run, but this is like the one miss, I think. Joker Year One, I've never said this before because I haven't really talked about Joker in Prime, like in Earth Prime, but my biggest issue with like Joker Origins is the fact that it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter who Joker really is. Like, you don't need to tell us the background of Joker, because we don't need to sympathize with him. He is a psychotic villain. He is mentally ill. He is insane. He is so insane. They think that he is so sane that we can't comprehend how sane he is. That's how different he is, and I don't need an origin for Joker. I think this was Chip Zdarsky's like one miss. You don't need an origin for Joker. Like, I can tell you that for free. You don't. And that's just one aspect of why this arc sucks. The other part is the fact that it is riddled with AI art, and that's concerning. DC during this time was having a little bit of an issue with AI art. There were some AI covers that were supposed to come out, and then they took them down, and then this came out. You had an entire story arc filled with interiors of AI art, and I will show it on the screen, but it's horrible. Like, you have a lot of different things that just like kind of don't make sense and just don't look real. It doesn't look like someone really drew this, and it's a shame. It's such a shame, because the artist Andrea Sorrentino is actually like, his actual pencils are really good. It's very similar to like a Sean Phillips kind of vibe, but in his own way. And I don't respect an artist who goes this route like whatsoever. This is just a cop out. Like, if you couldn't do the job, then to me, just don't do the job. To me, this was unfortunate. This was bad. This was very bad. I don't like AI art whatsoever, especially my comic books. Don't put that in my comic books. We have up and coming artists who are, you know, working their eyes off just to get a cover, and you have a veteran, a 10-15 year veteran, who is doing AI art. If he can't do the job, don't do the job. Like, simple as that. Outside of that, the origin itself, like as a story, it's passable. I like the whole Joker learning from one of Batman's mentor to create the 3 personas bit. Like, if you didn't know, Jeff Johns wrote 3 Jokers, with Jason Fabok and Brad Anderson, and this was basically like kind of showing us the fact that there were three Jokers, that there were three different Jokers, and it was kind of explaining, it was basically explaining like all the different eras that Joker has had. You had the clown, you had the criminal, and then you had the comedian. Basically you had all three of these different aspects, and then at the end of that story, like the Joker that kills all the other Jokers is the one that closely resembles the one from The Killing Joke, the one that is, I think it's like Arthur Curry or something like that. It's I don't remember his name exactly, but that Joker is the one that kills all of the others and becomes the main Joker, and you kind of go forward being like, okay, so there's still one Joker, and the story sucked. And then you also have this where I liked this take on it more, where it was basically like, it was basically saying Joker also learned from the same sociopath that Bruce Wayne did. He ended up creating three different personas, and to me that explains the different styles of Joker a lot more. However, I will say I didn't need that explained. It could have just been comics were more wacky back in the day, so he was using fish, and then he became a little bit more brutal, and then he became who he is now. It's kind of like a little bit more balanced. I don't need an origin for Joker. I don't need to explain why he had different personas. And truthfully, like the whole three Jokers bit, it's become like very unappreciated. Like there's no point to doing it. It was interesting. It was an interesting revelation back when we found out about it in Justice League in the New 52, but just because it was an interesting revelation, every attempt to make it work hasn't worked, and at this point it's just let it go. Jeff Johns could not follow through. It was years in the making. He wrote a story that was bad and not worth reading. Just let it go. I'm kind of glad Chip Zdarsky fixed it a little bit, but still I didn't need that exactly. This brings us back to present day. Now we're back in present day and we have Dark Prisons. This is following Absolute Power event where Zur-En-Arrh is now in the Failsuit like robot body, so now he's taking over, and he's Batman. He's basically like, he's lying to everybody saying that Batman died and now he's taking over. He put an AI intelligence inside of that Failsafe robot to kind of take over as Batman to continue the mission. He's lying, and he ends up just running, you know, Gotham as a fascist leader basically, and this story was great. It's further like Zur seeding this idea into Bruce that he needs to do his mission alone, and it's completely interrogating this idea that Batman needs to be a loner. But then like you get to a point where it's like, no, he doesn't. Like his mission has evolved, and I like that. I think like what I've learned from Chip Zdarsky's run is that he's taken all of these ideas that people have been arguing and discussing for many years, and he interrogates them. Is it interrogated very well? It's interrogated, it's decent, it's done very decently, and that's even before we get to Dying City, but it's done like decently. It's not bad. I think that there is a writer out there definitely who could deal with it better. I don't mean this to say that Chip Zdarsky isn't the person to interrogate this idea, but I think there are better writers to interrogate this idea, and for what it is, it's good. And then let's get to Dying City. And I wrote this, technically this was before I found out Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez were returning on the title. You know, like, it's okay, but this is the last little hoorah for Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. And this is a little bit more traditional Batman story. This is after he has defeated Failsafe and Zur-En-Arrh, completely expunged them and the personalities, and now he is back to being Bruce Wayne and Batman, two people in one body, completely, not literally two people, but just like one mission. At this point, he has reclaimed his fortune. This has been like years in the making, where Batman has been basically broke. He's kind of reclaimed his fortune, and he is using it for like socialist good. I think it's really good. Instead of like being a philanthropist, like he's very much giving a lot of his money to, you know, programs and institutions that really need it, instead of just like a Wayne Enterprise, kind of like just feeding into himself. I like this bit of interrogation more than the others. Dying City really comes down to the fact that the Court of Owls are back. They're being run by Russians, and it's Bruce Wayne basically trying to stop World War III, and it's mainly because the Riddler has teamed up with the Court of Owls, not knowing that they are being run by Russians, and then using his tech to collect data from everybody, and then in turn basically feeding it to the Russians. And it's kind of funny. I don't think it's an amazing idea, but this whole fact of like Bruce Wayne stopping World War III is just like, it's ridiculous. This whole run has been kind of ridiculous. I do like a lot of the action. He fights the KG Beast again. KG Beast returns as like this superhero that's undercover, and he's working for the Court of Owls as well, but he's kind of just been like, to the people he looks like an actual superhero, and he makes Bruce Wayne look bad. And it's kind of like, okay, like what are we really doing here? But this story was fun. You also get like a bit where Jim Gordon gets framed for murder. He has these glasses that kind of seed subliminal brainwashing through Mad Hatter technology. This was stolen by Riddler, and he gave it to Jim Gordon, and Jim Gordon, this like caused Jim Gordon to get like angrier and angrier. This like flared his emotions higher, and he ended up killing Mayor Nakano. If you don't know Mayor Nakano, he was introduced during, I believe, James Tynion IV's run or Mariko Tamaki's Detective Comics run. One of those. But he became mayor of Gotham, and he was really running it. He was pretty much a mainstay of Gotham for a while, and Jim Gordon had an affair with his wife because Nakano just wasn't home a lot, and Jim was like, you need to divorce your wife because she doesn't want to be with you. And it became this kind of like dick measuring contest between the two, and then Jim ended up killing him. And he felt like he was framed. He felt like someone else was there. He didn't feel like himself. His glasses broken after the fact. Like he wasn't completely sure about who killed the mayor until Bruce Wayne went investigated. It was like, you killed him. I will be honest, this bit of this story was actually so much more interesting because it was flipping Jim Gordon and Batman's like dynamic on its head, and I really like that it was kind of finally showing Bruce Wayne as a more mature superhero, a more mature like figure. Jim Gordon was always kind of, I don't want to say he was like a father to Bruce Wayne, but he always was looked at as like his elder, even though they're not that far in age at this point. And after like this big mess up by Jim Gordon, this allowed Bruce Wayne to kind of not necessarily look at Jim Gordon differently, but it really made Bruce Wayne kind of be like, everyone is human. And while Jim Gordon didn't know how he would face Bruce Wayne after this, Bruce was just like, look, like, we're both human, we all make mistakes, like I completely get it. The best thing that we can do is make sure that we don't make that mistake again. And I love that. I love that. Like, I love how it wraps up the story, and it was kind of like a nice inversion to kind of brought it full circle, brought their relationship full circle. It's one of those things where it's kind of unfortunate this run doesn't get any praise, because while it's not the best, it doesn't get, but like at the same time, like I don't think it's that, like I said, I don't think it's worse than Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. His Daredevil was very heavily criticized of being like derivative of all of the great Daredevil runs. This was kind of just derivative of all the great Batman discussions and and it was just Chip Zdarsky interrogating them. I don't think that makes him a worse writer. I don't think that makes Chip Zdarsky like a bad writer one way or another. I just think that like he has a writing style. I think it works a lot better for Batman. At the end of the day, like he did some interesting things with the character, and I really appreciated what he did. This was just overall, I feel like his Batman run was very fun. It was very high octane. I think it was more consistent than a lot of the past Batman runs up until New 52, but it's unfortunate that it wasn't like significant at all. I have to sing Jorge Jimenez's praise. Like, he's a legendary artist. He has a Kickstarter for his Art of DC book, or Art of Jorge Jimenez book, where it's just all of his art in there. Honestly, you should probably pick it up. Like, it's probably worth it. He makes amazing art. And do I wish Matt Fraction had a different artist for his run? Yes. Am I still going to be there on day one when Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez's Batman #1 drops? Absolutely. Like, amazing artist. I love how action-packed. I love how fluid his art is. I love how inspired by anime, Frank Miller, Neil Adams, even. Like, he has all of his inspirations create this like beautiful style. Amazing work. I really do like this Batman run. I think I like it more than a lot of other people. Frankly, I think like people are really sleeping on it. But yeah, that's been my review on Batman by Chip Zdarsky. If you want to hear me talk about Batman Tonight more, let me know in the comment section below. I'll probably do a video about it. But yeah, Like, subscribe, comment below what you guys thought about Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. I personally liked it quite a fair bit. I think it was pretty fun. I thought it was pretty fun. But, you know, catch you on the next video. Peace.